Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's the man of the hour, the man with the power, the living legend of video game vloggery. Hello, my name is Lee Hazell, and this is the heads up display, where we display a game to give you the heads up. And this particular one is Badland by Frogmind Games. Now, one of the things that I developed the concept of the heads up display was because I was having trouble playing a game and talking about it at the same time. I actually thought one of the things that could help me is if I was to pick apart the heads up display and how all of these visual cues combine with the game's mechanics to let you know what was going on and how the game played. It would make it easier for me to explain the game to you and to also criticize it. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting about Badland was it doesn't have a heads up display at all. If you can look here, what you see is what you get, but if you try to play the game, it clues you in along the way with some really interesting visual trickery. Okay, so if you can see the screen now, this isn't a screenshot, although everything is perfectly still. This is the game. There are no noises, there are no sounds, there is no movement, but the second I touch a button, the world jumps to life. Oh no, okay, right. Very difficult game this. This is one of the incredibly big... it's a mobile game. Well, it was a mobile game. I'm playing the PlayStation 4 version right now, with some incredibly generous checkpointing, and thank Christ for it. This is one of the hardest games, indie games on the PlayStation era, and it's by design. This game is supposed to have you die in new and interesting ways almost every single time you play through it. And as you can see there, I'm picking up these little coloured orbs, and each of these coloured orbs has a different effect. As you can see, one of them made us smaller, one of them slowed down time, and the furry ones you can see at the top of the screen there, there's one there now, multiply me. Now, these can either multiply you one at a time, or they can multiply you, I don't know how much the number is, but it's a lot. We can see one actually at the top of the screen there for a second, and we will definitely be trying to pick that one up. There you go. And this is the real meat of the game. Creating thousands and thousands of what the game calls clones, and trying to get them to safety. Now, if you saw there, one guy gets one of these power-ups. They all benefit from it. So we can actually just leave one of our little guys to die there. Don't feel bad, by the way, about killing off a bunch of your guys so you can couldn't quite put on the brakes hard enough for that. It's just gonna be a real shame. Because just getting out of that little particular trap there with the falling platform and the exploding mine at the bottom is actually really difficult. Okay, right. We came into that one slow enough to be able to avoid it now. Okay. Yeah, don't worry about killing off a load of your guys to ensure that one survives. That's kind of how the game works. That's what the game was designed in mind for. It's a brutal game. It's called Badland for a reason. It's about the survival of the fittest. It's about sacrificing the many to save the few. And if you look here, I saved 4 clones there. One of the rewards in the game is to save 15. And I make no bones about it when I say to you people, fuck that! God, this game is hard enough when I can just get one guy to the finish line, let alone 15. And I have to replay levels multiple times. So survive with 2 tries? Yeah, no, fuck that as well. Collect all the power-ups. The power-ups are deliberately put in these really difficult places. Now, good thing about these little challenges is that you don't have to necessarily do all of them in one playthrough in order to to unlock them, and thank God for it, because God, one of these is hard enough. I used to be the kind of guy who would play games like this multiple times, play each of the levels multiple times through, just so I could get every single reward that was going. I don't do that anymore. I mean, what was I doing to myself trying all of that sort of stuff? Okay, so the core gameplay mechanic here, and you can tell it's mobile roots because it's really just a two-touch game, is you hit the X button to go up. You don't have to multiply repeat it, although you might want to do that in case you want a little extra control over your character, but just hitting the X button, and the longer you keep it held down for, the higher the guy flies in the air, and the longer you let it go down for, the faster he's going to fall. Now, one of the tricks of this game is to make sure you keep... See, you can't... Okay, I had about, what, a dozen of those little clones going through there, trying to make their way through this harsh and hostile environment, and only one of them got through, and there's a very good reason for that. Oh, I don't think that was supposed to happen. That looked like a bit of a glitch there. Oh well. Must have got squeezed out by all of the physics. But yeah, you can realistically only look after the movement of one of these guys at one time. You can't control groups of them. I mean, you are controlling the group, but you can only realistically figure out which way one of them's walking at any one moment. It's just too damn hard to try and figure out loads of them. One of the tricks I did have when I was trying that at the beginning was to was to always control the one furthest to the left of the screen. Wow. Just not enough time there. And if you controlled the one that was always on the left of the screen, you could at least make sure that that dude got through, and in doing so... And now I've trapped myself. And in doing so, making sure that a load of the rest of them got through as well. I stopped doing that. I started just picking out which other guy was getting through the obstacles the fastest. No! Oh god, such a hard and brutal game. Such a hard and brutal game. You're supposed to die loads of times. It's the point. It's supposed to communicate to you just how unrelentingly awful this game world is to these clones, to these little alien science experiments. Oh, and we need to time this. There we go. Yeah, like I said, the fact that time slowed down there did not really help us. Oh wow. Okay, so yeah. As soon as we hit these power-ups here, they're gonna send us straight through. Now, one of the things that I am not a big fan of with this game, one of my only complaints about it, is that so much of this game is all about context, is all about how the game communicates to you the dangers, the traps, and how you're going to die. And one of the things that really hinders your progress is the fact that if the screen, if your little fellas go off to the left of the screen, then they die, but there's no visual indication for that. There's no context behind it, and in games like this, context is key. It's not like there's a wall of fog chasing you or anything like that. The physics are really random, and not necessarily random, they all make sense, it's just that the way that your clones move. Oh god, right, yeah. So yeah, the way that your clones move and bounce around the environment and all of that stuff, you can't really predict where they're going to move to, or and the millisecond that you oh god, stuff like that is so tense. The millisecond you hold down the X button longer for than you would do normally could have such an impact on how your clone behaves, on how your pack of clones behave. Yeah, we've got a little pachinko machine going on here with all of our clones. Yeah, so all of these power-ups have a massive effect on how the game is played and on how the levels conduct themselves. For example, the one you just saw a few minutes ago made the game so slow and made all of these little God, will that explode? Is that mine? No, that's just going to weigh us down. Nope. We don't get through that one. But we did actually get to the next checkpoint. Yeah, the checkpointing in this game is incredibly generous to the point where it might actually be to the game's detriment, but sometimes the puzzles in this game are so hard and so brutal that I am very thankful for any break that I might get. Okay, I'm going to leave the big pack that was down the bottom of the screen there. I'm just going to get out of the level, try and show you guys as much of this game as I possibly can. Okay, do one more level here and then I might take you to where I actually am in the story, which is a lot way off from here. Okay, this is when the game really gets good. When it really changes the way the game plays, when it plays with how many of these little clones you're playing with on screen at any one time, how big they get, how small they get. This is when the game is really fun. When you just see that explosion of fluffy furballs. No! Oh. And then you get like a little swarm of just these massive amounts of them, little tiny critters. No! And you really know when the game is trying to make you play in a certain way, when it makes those power-ups completely and utterly unavoidable. Oh god, I got to this part yesterday and I couldn't get through it. Oh, I've got one! One's gone through! Yes! Oh, I could not do that yesterday to save my life. I had to skip and go through another portion of the game. Can't believe I just did that first time. No! You can see in slow motion as well that that little stone going all the way down to the bottom to what I can recognise is a mine trap. If you look down the bottom, you can just see the outline of a mine and a load of little try and get out of the way of this before the screen closes in on us and we die. No, I don't think it's gonna happen. Nope, did not happen. Gonna try and do this as quick as we possibly can then. I think we got it this time. We were too slow last time. Okay, now that all those have cleared, we can make our way back to safety. If you look at all of these little mechanics they've got going... Oh no. Those little sticky things trap you. And this is one of the most annoying elements of the game. You know your character's dead. You know you can't move. You know there's nothing you can do about it. There's no self-destruct button. There's no way you can possibly... Oh, now we're all the way back here. Yeah, we definitely nudged it too gently the first time. We didn't give ourselves enough time. But now, I can see this. And I want to get this power up here without having to... Ah, balls. Did I make it through? No, I didn't. God damn it. Yeah, all of these are my little mechanics that the game's got. All of these little things that the game has created and made all of its traps out of. They all move and react in a certain way, and we're not going after that one this time. I am not destroying myself. Okay, and we've now just been made. We are now, instead of going massively slowly, this is how your clone reacts when it's going massively quickly. Oh god, and I can sort of see it here. Okay, maybe... Oh, right, okay. Well, that was good. Didn't manage to stick on to a single surface there while I had the sticky power up. As soon as we get through this one, I will go to where I am in the level normally, because I'll just pause it for a second. Usually, if you've gone through this game for the first time, you don't see the screen with the eggs on it. You don't see the screen with the reward. You actually see the screen that tells you how to play the game and what all the power-ups mean, and I'll show you that in a minute. This is where the game is its most fun, with all these explosions, with all of the ways that power-ups make your guys behave differently. And also, one of the other things that really makes this game fun is all the ways in which Frogmind have come together to basically use all of these traps in new and inventive ways. I'm really shocked and surprised and just marvel at how clever all of these little traps they've made are. And if you notice, they are constantly coming up with all of these different contraptions that are made entirely out of all of the creations they've made in the first place. Like, if you see here, orbiting, you've got these little laser constructions, and what these little laser constructions are made out of, and the same goes for that little wheel with the triangles sticking out of it there. They're all made up of elements that already exist within the game. Those triangles are obstacles you've got to come over somewhere else, and then they've attached that obstacle to a spinning saw, and they've let the saw spin, and then that becomes a wheel in itself that has its own mechanics and its own physics. And the developers have just put all of their different pieces together, and the physics engine that they have created dictates how they behave. And I really like that in the game. I really like the fact that these guys have really created like a world that has a set of rules, and everything obeys that set of rules. There's not much scripting in this game. There is, and most of that is done for these little gotcha moments that are quite they're quite annoying, especially if you're trying to get through the game in a certain amount of lives, but they're also just so entertaining to play against. Okay, right there is a gotcha moment. I didn't know that I would have to get beyond that last domino before it fell down and trapped me out. And the only way I find out how to play that, how to get past that little puzzle, is to play it once and fail. And that is a lot of what this game does, but just the ingenious inventiveness of how this game handles its puzzles make it okay, because when you see that you go, oh okay, that's clever, I see what you did there. I've got to go through it again and now I actually know what I'm doing, but I really appreciate the kind of nuance in the design that you've put there. It's really quite entertaining and very awesome. No! Okay. Yeah, these are the later levels. These are very harder. So I'm just going to show you initially. We're going to try and get through this level. We will try and get through that level, but initially what I want to show you is this. These are all the ways in which you play the game. So obviously here you've got it's like I said, it's a 2-button system. Either R2, holding down R2 or holding down the X button will make your character float, or letting go of them will make it sink. Your analog stick or your D-pad, I don't know why the D-pad isn't highlighted there, because it actually works just as well as the analog stick does, but that moves your character around. Your character is actually always in a state of forward momentum. Your character's always moving forward. If you want to move backwards, then you have to point in the backwards direction on the D-pad or the analog stick, and pointing forwards makes your character go faster. So you are either moving forwards, moving even faster forwards, or you're moving backwards, and you're moving backwards at half speed. This is very much a forward momentum game. Occasionally you are required by the game to go backwards, but most of the time it wants you to go forwards. That's why moving back is such a slow, painfully slow process, which they actually take advantage of in some amusing ways that really make you like grip your controller with white knuckles. Okay, so the yellow ones make your character bigger, or they make your character smaller. The little furry ones split your character up. Okay, this one, the one with the arrow going forward, speeds you up. The one with the circle slows you down. There we go. I was explaining that a minute ago. Yeah, those ones are really fun. They're actually animated when you see them in the world. They don't just have the little static dots on them, the little static purple dots, but you can actually see what way they will spin your character around, and they will constantly make your character spin. So if you hit and we've seen this earlier before, but the game goes at such a fast pace, I wasn't really able to point it out, that if you stick to walls, if you hit a ceiling or you hit the floor, your character will just very quickly roll forward in that direction. Okay, here we've got the big green one is bouncy with the one big green dot on it, and the tiny little green dots make you stick to things. Now, one of the things actually that I'll show you here is that all of these faster, slower, big, small, roll one way, roll the other way, you pick up, for certain segments of the level, you pick up one of these power-ups. And then, because the game doesn't necessarily want you having that power all the way throughout, whether or not it would make it too easy or just damned impossible, it'll make you pick up its opposite its opposite power-up to level you out. So if the one on the top spins you to the right a load, when you leave the segment you need to spin to the right, it will provide you with a bunch of power-ups that spin you to the left, evening your character's momentum out. And that's what happens here as well. The ones that make you sticky, if you pick them up, will be counterbalanced by the ones that make you bouncy, which is really odd to me, because, you know, look at this, roll to the left, roll to the right, that makes sense of balancing you out. Go faster, go slower, that makes sense, but is really sticky and bouncy mutually exclusive, really? Also, you've got time, one fast forwards it, one pauses it, and yeah, those are all the ones that I've come across so far. I've still not finished the game. There still might be a couple of surprises they've got for me. But yeah, so we're going to try and get through this one. No! See, because if I hit that, I know I've got to stop myself. No! I know I've got to stop myself from going too fast through that little gap at the end there, because if I hit that guy, I'm going to be... Okay, yeah, I'm gonna burst as soon as I hit it. Don't know why those mines were there. Didn't seem to be, Oh, no. We just gotta let that thing go through. No! Oh, okay, right. Yeah, so the game keeps coming up with these little contraptions, like this is just a stone. Yeah, oh, okay, so this whole... If we look there, The writing at the top of the screen is domino, so this entire level is the domino effect. So this level is going to be themed after dominoes, after chain reaction sort of style stuff. So yeah, we'll try and get through as much of this as we can just to show you the sheer inventiveness of what they do. And like I was saying before, one of the great things I think that this game does is how it just makes these elements and then it combines them and sees how they react to one another, and just the amount of design that they have extrapolated from these simple little interactions is just mind-bogglingly brilliant. And it's one of my favourite mobile experiences. It's one of my favourite games on PlayStation 4. It's one of those games that doesn't necessarily make you feel great as a player because it's constantly kicking your ass. I mean, the context of this game is all about... Okay, so we needed to actually get through that puzzle. With this puzzle, I need to time it so that I am in the right position at the right time to get through it, and in this one, I need to get through this. Or actually, what I need to do is I need to just make sure that that button never gets hit, so that I can actually go past those saws. Like that. So yeah, you see here we've got these little triangle things, we've got chains. Oh, this is a nice one. Changes the shape of your guy. Huh, how do we get through this? Not really sure what that's supposed to do. I mean, I know I've got to wait for that little... See that little pebble there that's hitting the mine? But I don't really understand why... where it's going or what it's doing. Ah, okay, that's what it does. Yeah, those lasers only affect you if you hit them long enough. If you manage to get through them fast enough, they won't actually harm you. No. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's probably the only complaint I have about the game. I just wish there was more context as to why the left of the screen is so hazardous to you like that. We can't fit through there, so we've got to find a way of sneaking past that little thing there, getting the power up that makes us smaller so we can actually fit through this gap if we can, yeah. The physics in this game can sometimes be so annoying. Yeah. Yeah, so the context of this game is essentially you are these little science experiments that I don't really know what you're being used for, whether or not you're being tested, or whether or not you're just being used as like cattle or something like that. And this world is so incredibly hostile to you. I think what we've got to do is we've got to hit that mine again. Okay, so instead of trying to get through that gap, which I cannot get through. Ah, there we go. Right. Finally. Ah. Yeah, you see that? You see how these guys roll like this the second they hit that? The second they hit that one? It's just, oh, that is so satisfying. So satisfying to watch them explode like that. So much fun. It's also really satisfying. And that's the thing, they make death really fun in this game. They make dying just so amusing and so satisfying. Like just watching all of those clones squish I don't really, you know, like they don't give them enough personality for you to feel bad about them. No. What happened to my explosion? What happened to that power up that was supposed to give me loads of those tiny little things? Okay, we've got to get through that a lot quicker if we're going to make this challenge. It always throws up some other way, like, the physics in this game can always screw you over. Yeah, and don't ever feel bad about leaving some guys behind. It's just the nature of the game. Some of us are just meant to die for the glory of the others. Like that dude there. He died, so this one may live. Okay, yep, just one dude left there, and you'd be amazed at how often just one dude makes it out after so many other of your colleagues have died. Well, that was it for me, folks. That was your man of the hour. That was your man with the power. This has been the Heads Up display. Please check out Vulture Magazine on all of the social medias, and I'll see you guys next time.